everyone, and welcome to ABCD, American Born Chatty Desis. Let me introduce to you all the co-host. It's Sandeep's younger brother, Sandeep but shaven.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and I'm going to jump in and introduce our host, who's dethroned my brother last week. My personal, the man whose voice is my personal next COVID booster shot. That is Omar Najam.
Thank you. I got some horns. All right.
Horns for the host.
Let's do it. We'll just to catch up the podcast listening audience. I do have
probably
COVID.
Should. Yeah.
I hope it's not a new strain that is transmissible via audio. Let's just hope.
Yeah.
But let's be honest. Is there any other way you'd rather catch COVID than listening to our podcast? Probably not.
Yeah.
It's the best way.
Yeah, I agree.
If you had to do it.
If you had to, this is the best, and we'll keep you company with our show.
So yeah, just a brief, don't be too concerned. It's been pretty mild for me. I had the 2 bad days already, kind of on recovery.
Good.
I am feeling a little fatigued and kind of weak in the joints kind of thing, but like not enough not to do a podcast from home. So don't you fret. Don't you fret, listening audience. And if you are fretting, I appreciate your fretting because that means you care, And you dethroned me. You dethroned me this week, so congratulations.
It doesn't feel as great after following this reveal that you have COVID. So
and then I guess I had COVID last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see how today plays out. But we're all wishing you a speediest of recovery, Sandeep, from afar and close to your heart. But the show will continue to go on, and that show is ABCD, American Born Chatty Desis. This is a podcast within a live stream within our lives as to American Born Desis. It's a podduckin, if you will. This is for anyone out there who, like us, is navigating your cultural identity and just, you want to chat about it.
Mm-hmm. On tap for today, we do this in 3 basic sections. Section 1, because we are so desi that we have to give you a syllabus. Section 1 is our chakra check-in. This week we're talking about growing up with Apu, the Simpsons character, and what it was like to, have that be our sole representation growing up. Because we'll get into it. But there's been some news on the problems with the Apu front. So Section 2 is going to be a brand new segment that we're calling Spin-off, Rewrite, Cancel. It's the F, Marry, Kill, but about people who play things in brownface. It's gonna be good. And then the third little bitty is the Desi of the week.
Yep.
And so we nominate a Desi every week as the Desi of the week. We talk about why they are that person and give them lots of love. And then we are done with this podcast.
That's right. Really quick before we start, we have to thank our sponsors. We've got 2 sponsors. First sponsor is DesiQuest. This is an actual play TTRPG set in a South Asian mythology-inspired universe built by star GM and good friend of the show, Jasmine, that bronze girl bowler, with a star cast that includes Critical Role darling Anjali Bhumani, Dimension 20 darling Rika Shankar, and 2 more darlings, Sandeep and me. That's right.
Soon to be stars. Riding on the coattails of those other 3.
Exactly. We're just slowly absorbing bits of those titles. So we're going to be a critical 20 or maybe Dimension Roll darlings by the end.
One of those real shows.
Also, if you want to keep track of all of that, all the news that we have coming up about DesiQuest, check out DesiQuest.com. That's DesiQuest.com. It's like Johnny Quest, but DesiQuest. And check that out. That link will also be in the show notes. And we want to thank our second sponsor. Guess who it is, Sandeep?
Oh, I can guess. It's you guys. It's
you guessed
our listeners.
Right. Yes.
Head over to to our Patreon, please. Patreon.com/EffinFunny, EFFIN funny. And there's lots of ways that you can contribute to the show and help us keep the lights on. We're so thankful to all of our sponsors that do. For $5 a month, you get to play with us during our after show right here on Twitch, because we do the show live as well as to what you might be listening to in the future. So do that and get to play with us live. That's super fun. For a mere $10 a month, we sing your name in the credits. And by we, I mean basically me. I think, Omar, you did it once. Where you did the monologue. Oh, you did it twice.
I did,
okay.
yes. Yeah. I haven't, yeah. I did one
the monologue
acapella
version is the one I wrote with the background music was amazing. Point is, we give you that personal shout out. It means so much to us. So contribute any amount that you possibly can. Support a couple of Desis in the creative arts, will you? Huh?
Yeah.
And help us keep these lights on, i.e. us to be able to afford high-speed internet. That's patreon.com/EffinFunny.
Heck yeah. All right, should we start the show?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Let's head into
What were we doing before?
yeah, okay. Well, let's continue the show then.
Okay, all right. Cool.
Yeah. With our chakra check-in. All right. So today we are talking about the famed Simpsons character with the sole responsibility of portraying the entire South Asian experience in Springfield, Apu.
Indeed. And we're going to specifically talk about how we personally grew up with Apu in our lives. Some of you may know that friend of the show, Hari Kondabolu, is a stand-up comedian, super funny guy. Worked on W. Kamau Bell's show. Oh, the name is escaping me. I blame COVID fog. What's the name of the show? It was
the name
great.
of the show. Yeah, I have it written down. I'm scrolling through all my notes.
I'm just blanking on it, but it was a good show. It was on Comedy Central.
Biased.
Totally biased. Thank you. Anyway, he did like a little bit about Apu on the show, and then that kind of blew up. And he was like, let's make a whole documentary about it. Documentary comes out. I think it was on Adult Swim, maybe, or something like that, or TBS or something like that. I don't remember, but it was great. It was all about sort of diving into, is this a problem that he's voiced by a white actor, Hank Azaria?
Yeah.
And how it affected him personally, but not just him, but all sorts of people that he interviewed. Like, what was it like sort of growing up with him? We're going to share our personal experiences about that as well. But the reason why we're talking about this now is because they recently, spoiler alert, at the end of the documentary, he doesn't get Hank Azaria on the documentary. It's still a great documentary, but he's not able to land him, even though he's sort of chasing him the whole time. But recently, it's now 6 years later, Hank Azaria and Hari Kondabolu get together publicly for the first time and have this conversation, about what went down 6 years ago. And it's cool. They really get into it. You can tell that they've come to peace with each other and the situation. It's a great interview. I really recommend checking that out. It's on NPR's Code Switch. Their latest episode, I believe, or maybe by the time you hear this, maybe the second to latest, whatever. Anyway, that's why we want to talk about it, because we both listened to that interview. It was really fascinating, and was like, wanted to reflect on how it affects us. So I'm gonna kick it over to you, Omar, with how did it affect your chakra alignment? Where did you feel it? Where did you feel it growing up?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I feel like for me, the problem with Apu, it comes in two stages. One is sort of like the pre-documentary, pre-discourse, and then post-discourse. And it's something that Hank Azaria actually touches on in Code Switch, which is the fact that Apu did become a slur at a certain point, like was sort of used and targeted that way. I grew up in a neighborhood that was predominantly Asian and like Latine, so I didn't experience a lot of I want to say like otherization until I got to college. I went to Santa Barbara, and as you can imagine, the demographic there in the 2000s was weighed in a certain towards a certain construct. But growing up as a kid, that was sort of the thing where the only representation we really had on television at that time was a the way it's kind of described by Hari is like a white man doing a white man's impersonation of an Indian person.
Yeah,
It's not even like a direct. And a lot of people talk about how Apu is like a product of the time. That time is the 1960s. It's a Peter Sellers take on,
yes,
a general, which already is offensive in its own right, a general Indian accent, like the one go-to Indian accent.
I mean, literally, Hank Azaria says that's where he got the accent from, was from Peter Sellers, not from like an Indian person he met, but was from the Peter Sellers flick. I'm trying to look it up right now. I can't. The Party.
Yes,
right.
yeah, from the Party,
where he plays like Hrundi Vibakshi is the character that he plays. So. Kind of amazing.
It's tough because
it's like not even an Indian impression.
Yeah.
It's an impression of a guy doing.
Of Peter Sellers.
What? It's a brown face impression of someone doing brown face. It's amazing.
And it's like, and it wasn't a thing in like growing up where it was like, oh, we didn't know better. Like it's clearly, this is not real. Like it was very clear that this was very sort of disingenuous, consciously, and I think,
But you weren't personally, at least growing up with it, you were not like called it in a way that really bummed you out.
It wasn't, because it would come up, and as I got older, it was more and more. It was like a mixture of Apu and like people saying like Gandhi Dot, and that being like a thing.
Gandhi Dot?
Yeah, we got. Oh, you've never heard that?
No.
Oh yeah, we got that a lot growing up, where people would just go
like,
up to you and hit your head and say it.
Oh. I did get. Oh, I don't know if they said Gandhi Dot particularly, but yeah, I definitely got the flick in the head. Before.
Yeah,
you got the implied Gandhi Dot then.
Yeah,
the implied Gandhi Dot.
They were so certain that you were so used to that racism they didn't have to
like
tell you what they were doing.
Exactly. They just said GD. I was like, what?
They didn't even bother. They were in a hurry. They had other racially insensitive things to do that day.
They said, yeah, I gotta get to more racism. I don't have time.
But for me, the
schedule.
The thing that hits like I think the heart chakra and the throat chakra for me is that The Simpsons is a cornerstone of American comedy writing for me. Growing up, The Simpsons was the comedy. Like the timing of it, the character perspectives, the points of view, the pacing of those jokes. I have probably over 100 favorite Simpsons jokes. I think it is an incredible product of comedy, and for the character that represents our community to sort of be shortchanged in that, to me, was the thing that hurt the most. Was that I knew that Apu was...
You were offended as a writer more than you were offended as a Desi person.
Yeah, and there is a thing that's difficult about that, because comedy is supposed to be a thing that's very inclusive to us, right? Like comedy is supposed to be something that can bring people together. When we laugh together. To have a character held outside of that, and that character only has one sort of bit that they're going to milk from that, is difficult. And then when the documentary came out and people were just like, no, don't change anything, we hate this, and even the Simpsons reaction itself, that for me was when I felt a huge sense of danger from it, because I was like, but we're telling you, and we're all kind of saying this in good humor, and like, hey, this isn't like fun. Like the Simpsons is the echelon of comedy. Why don't you have Apu also be the echelon of comedy? And people were just being like, shut up, and like getting really angry about it.
I know. Yeah. I think that was the thing that was most disappointing, was like Lisa's reaction to it.
Yeah.
And Hari talks about that in the interview as well. Not to spoil everything, I guess, but it is like, so just like that was, you're like, wait, that was your reaction? Which, if you guys aren't familiar, they did finally have Lisa Simpson in the show sort of address the controversy by being like, I'm going to terribly paraphrase it, but it was like, if something that was so beloved in the past, like, then has, there's a different lens on it now, like, should we be condemned for that thing? And then like looks to Lens or something, or like looks over to her dresser, right? And then she like randomly has a picture of Apu at her nightstand, and so like it wasn't funny.
It's not. Yeah, that's the thing.
It's like, it wasn't fun. I was like, God, could you have, like, if they went full South Park with it and we're just like, we're doubling down, and it's gonna be like I would have been more happy with that than this like weird kind of like, almost lecture.
Yeah.
I think that was honestly for me. Sorry if I'm butting
No,
in
that's
now,
it.
but
That's it. I completely agree.
that was like the most offensive part of the whole thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Honestly.
I have a
Oh,
bit to
man.
bring up, but let me ask you really quickly before we move on too much from childhood. How did Apu affect you growing up? Because I think that talking about the post-documentary stuff is the meat of this conversation.
So
But
I'm sorry, where'd you say you grew up again?
I grew up in the Bay Area. I talk
yeah,
about
Bay.
it all the time.
Right. Yes, you do.
I've been called out recently
Oh, man, that's so funny.
for bringing it up too much.
Yeah, you really do, man. So I grew up in New Hampshire.
Yeah,
not
okay.
the Bay Area.
Different Bay Area.
Different, I guess. New Hampshire, the south of the north, as I call it. Let's just say it has a lot of libertarian vibes, a lot of pickup trucks.
I've been told not to go there by every bordering state, just so you know.
Yeah, and look, you should. It's fine to go. It's beautiful. There's just some problematic elements of it. There's a reason why I'm not going to ever live there. But anyway, point is, I grew up there for some ungodly reason. My parents decided to move there, and so was I called Apu? Like, of course.
Yeah.
Like all the time. I think. I mean, like, I don't even like. There was so much thrown at me that I don't remember. I don't even remember being all that offended at a certain point because you just had to like throw it back, right?
Yeah.
Like there was no, and that's how I made my friends, was like being able to go like toe to toe.
Yeah.
You know, and become an equal opportunity offender. You know, so the story that I really remember, this wasn't Apu related, but I was called, and forgive me if I've told this story before, but I was called, I remember, I'll never forget, it was third grade, we were playing tag.
Mm-hmm.
I won't name him, but he has the funniest name. Oh God, he has literally douche. The word douche is in his in his last name. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
That'll narrow it down.
And it's just perfect. Yeah, he knows who he is, and he knows actually that I love him and that we are friends to this day, or at least we're friends. We ended up being friends. But he called me. He was like, "Don't play with tag with Sandeep. He's got shit all over him. Look at him. He's got he's the color of shit. He's shit. So don't touch him. You'll get his shit on you." And oh man, like in third grade, that stung so hard, and I was just like, I was like frozen. I kind of just like sunk away, like because I remember everyone laughing, right? Like everyone laughing. Like it was almost like it was one of those laughs where it was like they were all waiting for someone to say it.
Yeah.
Do you know, like, it's like now that I've done improv a bunch, right? Like, you know, when someone comes into a scene and like nails the thing that all the audience has seen the whole time, but like no one in the scene has talked about. And then someone like walks into the scene and they're just like, "You're in a Walmart," or something like they just nail the thing that everybody's like, and they're like, "Oh, that brings context to everything."
They put that lantern up. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a satisfying laugh. Like that's how I felt everyone was laughing at me in that moment about like being like, finally someone called him the color of shit. Right. And I was like, oh man, it really cut deep. And I remember I got so upset. I got home, I told my parents. I was like, I felt ostracized. I just didn't want to talk to anybody for the rest of the day. I went home, I talked to my dad. I was like, "Dad, we gotta like destroy everyone." I was like, you got to go to the principal. Like, this is terrible. I was called this terrible thing. I felt so like ready to be, I was like, my dad's going to go up in arms with me. My dad was like, "Son," sat me down. And he's like, "If the kids call you," he's like, "we're not going to the principal." He's like, "You can handle this." He's like, "If the kids call you that you have shit on your skin, you tell them that their skin is so white they look like my underwear, and you give them a big hug, and you say, now you have shit stains all over you."
That's your dad's solution.
Yeah. My dad's solution was to like yes and them and like make fun of them, make fun of it, like give it no power.
Yeah.
Like, give it no power. And I feel like it was like the best advice anyone could have ever given me. Like, do not let that shit have power over you. That shit, you know, no pun intended, have power over you. And it's like, he's like, he didn't say this, but now looking back on it, he's like, you're not going to win any friends like by tattling. And you know what I mean? Like in the end, you're not really going to like win the day if like you go to the principal, the hammer comes down on this kid.
Yeah.
he gets in trouble. Like, it just creates more vitriol, like in the end. So he's like, you gotta laugh it off, water off a duck's back.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of like how I was really raised with that point of view. So I have a weird relationship with Apu where yes, it was used as an epithet against me. I didn't like it, but like I did sort of view The Simpsons as like an equal opportunity offender.
Right.
I kind of was like, everyone's getting. I'll tell you, the thing that annoyed me the most was that he wasn't yellow skin color.
Oh yeah.
Everyone else was yellow, but he had to be brown. That was the thing I actually hated. And I know they had black characters and stuff too, but it was like, here's this swath of normalcy.
Yes.
And he doesn't get to be depicted in the normal. That was actually to me the most offensive thing about Apu.
Right.
Was that. Like I hated that. I was just like, just fucking make them all yellow then, you know? Like why does he have to be like sort of like stick out in that way? That bugged me. But like someone in chat earlier was like, I'm an apologist. I'm an apologist for Apu. Like, I was kind of like, I'm just in on the joke. I think I'm just in on the joke because, I didn't want to give it power over me.
I felt like growing up, it was like, it sucks that it gave a vocabulary to the worst of people.
Right.
Like,
but they were going to find something. They were going to find Gandhi Dot. They were going to find something to shit on us, right?
That's the thing, is that like there was going to be something, and I kind of operated under that philosophy, I think, until the documentary came out, because they were just like, hey, this is like problematic.
Yeah.
And I think that should be the easiest conversation to have. And the fact that there was this huge blowback from comedians, that's when things get weird for me, is when comedians are just like, actually, this is freedom of speech. And if you cross this line, and suddenly it's like, why do you sound like a militia? That to me is when I start to get a little creeped out. And the response to that was tough. And then the response also from certain, and it's not universal in any way, but Hari touches on this a little bit in the interview. The response also from certain people in the South Asian community who will always pounce to be like the best brown guy for white people. I don't know if you experience this, but they're like, hey, I'm brown and I'm here to say it's fine. And I'm like, great, you're brown. You can also shut up. I don't like that holds so little credential with me, a fellow brown person, like a brown comedian.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
And it is, and I still watch The Simpsons, but it's so apparent to me that like Apu isn't getting the same comedy that's available to the other characters.
He wasn't written to like the highest mind like everyone else. It felt like it was. I will say that, growing up, I was never excited about an Apu episode. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I was, for me personally, again, I was in on the joke. I was like, listen, they're gonna shit on everybody, so fine. Yeah. But then I never was like, oh yeah, great. Now they're gonna do an Apu episode, because every joke felt so, for the most part, felt pretty tired.
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't relate to very much of it, to be honest. Like I was like, I don't think this is really anyone that I've seen. I've never really seen this. A lot of this in my life. So I don't know. It just felt like tonally off, but. Yeah, and look, I guess I'd have to go back and really think. Like, I feel like there was one good episode. I remember there was some episode with him and his wife that maybe was interesting, but I don't know. I was never I was never like anti. Oh my gosh, this is terrible. Yeah. I'm offended. I was never really offended by it. I was just never excited about watching it, and I was kind of like, okay, whatever. I still love The Simpsons, and fine. You know, that's kind of how I took it.
And here to like put into perspective, like how, like where this gets scary is, like let's quickly identify this. It sucks that we're like, yeah, we were tormented through our childhoods. Anyway, like that is pretty wild. Yeah. Like that is like, for any marginalized group, you know, for someone to be like, yes, of course it's dangerous for me to walk to my car at night. Like, who knows if I'll make it there alive. Anyway, and you're like, wait, we have to pause and talk about that. Like, for us growing up, it does suck that there was so much cultural context for people to rely on to just casually be racist. That does suck. But as to like comedians, I think that it was a thing of like, we're we know this, we know the world, and we're going to develop our own sort of vocabulary to counteract that. When the documentary came out, the amount of people who were like, I refuse to listen to you. I refuse to even think about this or acknowledge this. And so many of us were like, yeah, but the thing is, it's also just not good comedy. Like, you have world-class comedians working on this. Like, why is this bad? And they're like, and it was a thing of just like, the doubling down of that and just being like, no, we're drawing a line, we're doing this. And even the Simpsons reaction itself being like such a hack, weird joke where I was like, did Fox News write this? That to me is where I'm just like, now I'm really feeling the otherizing. You know, it was like in that meta reaction, which is why I'm so grateful that the interview came out.
That's where I'm at too. I think it was in the reaction, which is a bummer because like I do know folks there too, and I know that they're good people and great writers and brilliant and all that stuff. And I was just like, oh man, how did you come up with that? Like, call me up, man. I would love to have been in the room for that one because I'm like, that didn't land. Like there was like, to me, it was. I didn't even need like a whole retconning of the whole thing. I was like, just recast him. That's kind of where I was like, just recast. Just be like, own up to like it was problematic.
Yeah,
and we're just gonna do better going forward. And here you go. It's like, you know, here's this cool new casting opportunity, and that's how I think I would have done it. Just been like, you know, yes, our bad. We're gonna change with the times. We're gonna, you know, we hear that it caused people pain, and we want to be hilarious, and we want to skewer, and we want to do all the things that we do on our show, but like not cause so many people pain. And so we want to just adjust and just do better tomorrow. And still be funny and still be us. And I thought they like abandoned all of that in that moment. It was like, if it was funny, I would have been like, that shit was funny.
Yeah.
That shit was funny. You got us, you know, like, but they went totally this other way. We're just like reprimanding. Anyway, so that's kind of where how about this? Let's shift gears a little bit. So now on The Simpsons, they don't really feature Apu at all. Hank doesn't do the character anymore. They have not recast him. He's just sort of in the background, I think, of the later episodes now. I want to say they should cast. So I think they should bring him back and get a new voice. That's how I feel about it. But just for funsies, who would you want to play Apu if someone could? Who do you think could like redeem Apu?
I think that there are certain elements of Apu. The question I would ask. Let me use this to tee up my answer, if that's all right. Outside of having a general Indian accent, what is a characteristic of Apu?
That he is super. He's a a hardcore businessman. He's like spendthrifty. He's cheap. He's like he's a good Jew. He's like me. He's my people. I feel like, even though he's not technically my people, I'm like I do know that aspect of him is true. Is that what you're talking about? You got something else?
Episode, like the episode when he goes to live with the Simpsons family, and he's just like, here's how to navigate a grocery store. This line will move faster. Or when Lisa's going vegetarian, and he's just like, I have a secret hideout behind the non-alcoholic beer. And what if someone checks this? And he's like, no one ever does. Like there is a savviness to the character that they're not leaning into. And I feel like, and while this sounds like an obvious answer, Kumail Nanjiani could play that savviness. So I'm talking Portlandia Kumail Nanjiani.
Sure.
Like Apu at the end of the day is not funny because he's Indian. He's funny because he's a weird little guy who loves his job. He actually loves it. And the passion he brings to it and the knowledge he has of it, I feel like as an actor, Kumail can lean into that of here's the one thing of just being like, no, I'm going to stop you. Like I can just feel those lines of dialogue already coming out. I also think that
I love Kumail for it. Is it problematic that Kumail's Pakistani? Probably not really. I mean, I'd be okay with it, but then again,
I do know that that's like come up before. That's been like a conversation. It is a little muddy just because before 1940s it becomes a real big question mark. But I still personally put my vote.
Just retcon the character as Pakistani, or like you know he was. like you could actually do some really interesting storylines on the partition potentially. Like his family, maybe his family in India and in Pakistan. I don't know.
Yeah. But that's my personal vote. I'll take any heat from that. I'll have that discourse, that conversation, but that's my personal vote.
Here's what I got.
Okay.
I'm making a couple ideas.
Mm-hmm.
One, like I think that like because the accent was such a thing, it would be nice if the character had if the actor didn't have to put on any sort of accent to play.
Yes.
Like it was just their natural accent.
Yeah.
And there's one actor that I really love that I think is super funny. He has an accent, but he's young, hip, and with the times. Karan Soni. Do you know him?
Yes. So
most people will probably know him in maybe also somewhat of a problematic role, potentially, kind of, as the cab driver sidekick to Deadpool in the Deadpool movies.
But
hey,
also,
look, if someone had to play it, I'm so glad it's Karan, because Karan's really funny.
Also going to be featured in the new Spider-Man movie, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, he just keeps getting... Yeah, he plays Dopinder. That's the name of his character in Deadpool. Yeah, so he is super talented. He's got like... I don't know. He's just got obviously a very natural accent. He just uses his natural accent because he's an immigrant. And he's fucking funny.
Yeah.
And I think I could see him
destroy that role.
Destroy that role and bring redemption to that character.
Yes.
In a way that's really lovable.
Yes.
My other pick was going to be Ifran Khan, but of course, rest in peace.
Yeah.
But they could AI Ifran Khan's voice.
Okay. All right. So a little bit of a Star Wars situation here.
But I would have loved like when Mr. Khan was with us, that would have been so badass, right? That would have just been the most badass pick, I think. Just because I loved him. But yeah, those are I think were my picks. Any like random pick? Got any other ideas? You're in the casting room. Throw them out there. Nothing's wrong. Dinesh D'Souza. No.
Yeah, that's it. Honest, Bobby Jindal.
Just go straight politics with it. Dr. Sanjay Gupta as Apu.
It is because I think the core of it is, and this is the thing that I saw like when the documentary came out, the stuff that the conversations having to correct so many people. It's not about like, oh, we're so sensitive, let's cancel this. It's no one makes fun of Desi people better than Desi people.
Right.
I know you can try, but no one does a better job dunking on our people than us. There have been so many good British sitcoms and sketch shows of Indian people just making fun of Indian culture. And let us do it. We can come in with so much knowledge, so much specificity. You will be in tears. It will not be the same joke over and over and over. You will love it.
How about this pitch?
Okay.
So he's just been gone for a really long time.
Okay.
Right? Like in the show, he comes back because he spent all this time in England. And so he comes back with a British...
I love this already.
Indian accent.
Okay.
Ish. And we go with, say, one of two ideas.
Okay.
Asif Manvi.
Yes,
who's British American.
Yeah.
Or Rahul Kohli. So who has like, I think he has like a really deep
I
British
don't mind
accent.
that at all.
And I just think he's brilliant. So those
Bring
are
in a cousin. That's not bad. That's like Rahul Kohli would be so good.
Identical twin.
Yeah.
Like identical twin, you just go straight, soap opera with it. Yeah. But like I want the British, like, the deeply British accent.
Yes.
The casual British
also
accent
British Desi is an entire subculture to itself, and those homies come with so much comedy. They're so funny.
Aren't these all better ideas than having Lisa betray the character?
Right?
Yeah. Of just like, well, I guess here's the thing. And you're like, that's not Lisa at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what?
Pay up and
Jebediah
get Shah Rukh
Springfield
Khan.
was a very good man. Okay, Lisa. Who have you been replaced with?
Weird.
Yeah.
So weird.
I hated the suffragette movement, Lisa Simpson. You're like, what is this? I don't like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. Let's move on. I see some good ideas coming in chat as well. Chat, please hit us up. And after the show, in our exclusive live chat only section, we will go through your ideas as well.
Perfect.
But for now, we are going to move on to our new segment. Spin-off, reboot, cancel. Ooh, that had
new
some extra
sounds.
sound
Wow.
effects to it. Yeah.
Okay. So the rules of this
Amazing.
are
Yeah.
we are going to get 3 suggestions from a category, right? 3 characters to pick.
Well, you're acting
And-
like it's improv.
All right, and all we need is a 1-word suggestion. This
These
one's
have
going to
been
be a
I've
little
pre-picked
musical,
Yeah.
and we're going to make it up on the spot. I hate people explaining improv to me because I'm just like, don't tell people what this is. Then we have to not do it.
Exactly.
Imagine anything else. Like, we're going to bake some stuff. What's that? Take ingredients. We're going to introduce them to some heat, but not before we mix them up. You're like, just make it. Just make it. Okay, so one of these characters is going to get a spin-off.
Yeah.
One of these characters, their own thing. They get a franchise now. One of these characters, a full reboot, we get to design, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then one of them, off the face of the planet, we'll never see again, canceled for life. Okay.
Bam.
So what's
So
our
it's
first...
kind of the fuck, marry, kill of characters,
Problematic.
TV characters.
Yeah.
Problematic characters.
Yeah, mostly problematic characters. Some we are going to give some shout-outs to. What's our first category here, Sandeep?
All right. Well, everything is made up, and the points don't matter. Here we go. Round 1. Sorry, I just stole that from chat. Love it. Round 1 in spin-off, reboot, cancel. It's the brown face round.
Okay.
So we're gonna go Fisher Stevens,
Okay.
specifically from Short Circuit.
Mm-hmm.
Max Minghella from The Social Network, or Benedict Cumberbatch. This is maybe, and this is maybe a surprise for some folks, and this is, this is definitely edging, I guess, on a different version of edging, on whether this counts as brownface as Khan from Star Trek Into the Darkness. So those are the 3 characters that we're going to decide.
Yes.
If they get a spin-off, reboot, or cancel. I'm gonna go through real quick before we give our
Okay. Are you going to give some context?
decisions. Or give some context for each of these.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'll start. Fisher Stevens. Start with Fisher. Okay. Short Circuit. Right. 1986.
Yep.
It's a science fiction film based on this idiot robot. Fun movie. I think we all loved it. We all. I enjoyed that movie growing up.
Yeah.
Again, I don't remember really much about it. Okay?
Yeah. There's a Radio Shack. That's all you got to know.
Yeah. But white actor Fisher Stevens
Mm-hmm.
played an Indian scientist.
Mm-hmm.
The role, nobody criticized it back in the 80s, really. To the point that Stevens reprised the role
Yes.
as the Indian scientist in the 1988 sequel. But recently, amongst, I think, maybe every comedian I've ever heard that's Indian, Aziz Ansari made a sort of a stink about it, I think in some podcast or something. And even Stevens describes himself as, I'm a thin, white, Jewish kid from Chicago. So probably no real business playing an Indian scientist. Like, just make the character an white, Jewish kid from Chicago. Right?
Yep.
Like, why even have him an Indian scientist at all? What was that? There's no IP that you're deriving this off of that you're even trying to steal from. Like, I don't think anyone would have cared. Or
Why do this?
Alternatively, cast an Indian guy. Those were your 2 options. But no, decided to cast Fisher Stevens as an Indian scientist. So that's, I think, maybe one of the most famous versions of brownface. Do you want to take on Max? Give people the context of why this is brownface?
Yeah. So Max was a character in the 2010 David Fincher classic Facebook, also known as The Social Network. That covers...
Was that its working title or like its secret title?
That threw everybody off. And they're like,
Did they
what's
make
this going to be about? Social Network? Oh, that's going to be. So the original person who this role is meant to portray is Divya Narendra, and the actor portraying Divya is half Chinese, half Italian, British.
Yeah.
So the idea of this kind of touches on a problematic aspect of Hollywood, which is the interchangeable Asian, right? That if you get just any Asian in, it works.
Just a couple drops of Asian in there. We can do
that
that
passes.
Producers.
Hey,
Asia, this guy's got like 7 Asian points. I think we're good.
Yeah,
I think we're good.
This person Thai? Okay, great. That's Indian enough for me. That's sort of the offensive concept behind that. And so, as you can see, just by looking at that still, some issues with that casting. You also could have 100% just cast a person of South Asian descent to be in that
2010.
Movie. In 2010,
what
for the
Dave
Oscar
Patel
nominated. If you have money to get Trent Reznor, you can afford a Desi actor. You'll probably save a little bit of cash, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, Divya Narendra, I think, is on record as being like, I really loved the movie. I mean, like, it was a little weird that like they didn't. It was like a little weird that I wasn't played by an Indian guy, but
yeah.
But I love the movie. And, he was the co-founder of Facebook, so he probably had to speak out of both sides of his mouth for that. But
yep.
Kind of hilarious. All right, the third one here is Benedict Cumberbatch, and I think this is the one that's going to get us in the most hot water with our fans here.
Mm-hmm.
Star Trek Into the Darkness, 2013 film. The supervillain Khan, okay, who he's portraying, he's an Indian guy. All right?
Yep.
This is an Indian guy. I'll tell you why. This is a fun fact. Creator Gene Roddenberry, maybe you've heard of him, had actually named the character after a friend of his, Kim Noonien Singh.
Yep.
And you know that last name Singh.
Mm-hmm.
We're likely talking, Sikh or Punjabi Sikh or something, right? He was his co-pilot in World War II.
Yeah.
They actually had fallen out of touch. He had fallen out of touch with his old friend, and he thought that naming the character would renew this forgotten friendship. Isn't that beautiful? Like, I'm gonna name a freaking amazing, a total villain. Maybe he'll. It's like, wait, why'd you name me after a horrible genocidal villain?
He has a way with the ladies.
Love letter to you, man. I don't know what the accent that was. All right, so technically, Englishman Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah.
Playing the character this is technically a whitewash, even though Khan,
yes.
so canonically in the show, is a genetically advanced human born in a laboratory. So I think that's why you kind of get this, you'll get your fanboys, to be able to give it a pass, right? And also in the original movie, he was portrayed by a Mexican actor anyway, Ricardo Montalban, back in famously. This was in the 60s, 67. And then in the movie it was 1982. So yeah, there you go. So that's what we have to work with.
Okay.
How are you feeling? Do you have like a definite answer already, or do you want to throw out some ideas?
Let me throw. Okay, so we're gonna choose which one gets a spinoff, which one gets a reboot, which one gets a cancel.
Yeah. We'll work together here for the definitive answer. Here we go.
Okay. I kind of feel like we reboot Fisher Stevens with a different actor.
Okay.
Because I think it's time. I think with all of everything that's coming back, I can see a straight to streaming Short Circuit with a lovable Indian, actual South Asian character would be a blast.
You're going with like IP value here, like intellectual property. Like, there's actually value in this character, and we can reboot it. I like it.
Yeah, I think we haven't cracked it. I think we haven't cracked it yet. I think we can do it. In a post-Wall-E world, I think that we could have a friendly little robot, dude who goes to Radio Shack.
Right, and then we just get an actual Indian scientist.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I think I might be on board. I think we might be of the same mind, because I sort of have a preconceived notion of what I want to do here.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say I'm on board in general with that. I'm gonna say Benedict Cumberbatch gets the spinoff. Because I am good with the technicality. Because I'm not good with I'm really kind of the least good with the Max Minghella one. Because like that was like a real life Indian dude. And it's like, not only are you like sort of taking away like a role for an Indian actor, which obviously I have tons of empathy for, but you're also sort of like changing recent history about this like high-powered co-founder.
History that happened like 5 years previously.
Yeah.
I say I completely agree. Khan gets the spinoff, and Khan can acknowledge, sort of just like, hey, genetically, I'm showing you how this happened. We have room to explain that. We have science that can explain that. And just like, also, I was named after Gene Roddenberry's co-pilot. Like, like I feel like,
yeah, it's not just because Benedict Cumberbatch is hot. Okay,
it's not just
he
because,
is hot.
And he is.
And I love him as an actor. It's not just that.
Yeah. And I feel like he would do, if we were just like, can you course correct this? Here's the lines. I feel like Benedict Cumberbatch could do that, Here's the thing for me. Here's why Social Network gets the cancel. It's because you have to be so problematic in your casting process to go to Silicon Valley, to make a movie about Silicon Valley and go, how am I going to find an Indian person? I'm from the Bay Area. I don't bring it up a whole lot. That's impossible. That's impossible. If you throw a rock in the Bay Area, you're going to get sued by 5 different Indian families. So that's just going to happen. So I can't fathom how this happened. I can't process that.
Yeah, there's so many Indian actors now, and even in 2010 there's enough of us out there that you could have. I mean, it's not like it was like the titular character here, and then you're like, oh, we gotta get bankable star for this role. It's like some kind of side role. You already had your bank. No one's going to the theater for Max. Yeah. I think he's a good actor or whatever, but like, you could have just. So I'm with you. Okay, I think we're on the same page. So the definitive answer is spin-off for
Khan.
Benedict Cumberbatch for Khan. Because we all want to see the Khan series anyway, right? Like, I'm okay with that. All right. Reboot for Fisher Stevens.
Yes.
And I love this because Fisher's doing a great job in Succession. I want him to like be sort of have some forgiveness here.
Yeah.
I think he's a great actor. Max, and it's not your fault. You took a job. I get it. Yeah. But they could have done better. They could have done better. Not just they could have found an Indian. Is all I'm saying. Yeah. So Social Network, you're canceled.
Yes.
Bam.
And there it is.
There it is. All right.
Are you ready for round two?
I'm ready.
All right. Here we go. Round 2, Brown Voice Edition. We are dealing with Apu from The Simpsons, Mowgli from Jungle Book, and Haji from Johnny Quest.
That's right. All right, chat. You guys should be blowing up right now for these. I want to hear what you think.
These are familiar characters, so we can blow through this really quickly. Apu, of course, is the character we talked about from The Simpsons, an Indian immigrant who runs a Quickie Mart, the most popular convenience store in Springfield, and he's known for his catchphrase, "Thank you, come again," which people have used ad infinitum to try to hurt our feelings.
Indeed.
Mowgli is from the 1967 animated film The Jungle Book, of course, based off of the writings of Richard Kibling, and that's effectively, like what we're looking at for Mowgli. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I guess we could say that he was voiced by, because I looked this up. This is kind of an interesting story. He was this guy David Bailey was originally cast.
Right.
His voice changed during production. This kid's voice changed. Right. And they were like, wait, he doesn't sound Indian anymore. He was like walking around just talking like this all the time because when he was 11 years old, that's how he talked. Yeah. And then one day, and then the next day he was like, oh, my voice is changing. Now I sound like this. Now I sound like...
We can't have that voice talking to snakes in the Indian jungle. Oh, geez, Baloo. Oh, geez, Baloo, there's a tiger chasing me. Shere Khan's chasing me, Baloo.
Should I trust this snake? I don't know.
Okay. Right. King Louie, what do you need? Tell me what I can get anything you need.
Oh, man. So anyway, at the last minute, I guess, they changed it to this guy, Bruce. He cast the son of the director, Bruce Reitherman.
Yeah,
who had just voiced Christopher Robin and Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Tree. So,
which is funny because a lot of the animation cycles for Mowgli are also Christopher Robin's. So that's a fun fact.
Is that true?
Yeah. You can see comparisons on whatever your favorite video source is. Yeah.
Wait, so they also...
Yeah.
They also what's the brown face version of using animation cycles from a non-Indian character? They changed his voice.
Desi cycling, I believe, is what it's called.
They brown cycled him. They brown cycled him.
Yeah, Christopher
They
Robin
used
got brown
a
cycled.
white character's body. They used the bones of a white character.
And they just up the size of the bear, you know? There's also a tiger. I mean, the comparisons don't stop. They could go all night. And finally, we've got Haji Singh, the adopted older brother to Johnny Quest by Dr. Benton Quest. He was found in the classic episode Calcutta Adventure, which I love. Haji, by the way, Johnny Quest, one of my favorite shows of all time. Haji studied yoga and Eastern mysticism while growing up, and he could change his body temperature and also stop his heart and appear dead in the show.
Yeah.
So some cool powers you can only get in India.
I love that there's like, what are a bunch of Indian powers? Let's go, guys. What do you got?
He can also talk to snakes.
I hear they do this stretching thing called yoga. All right, throw it on the board, whatever. Amazing. And they love to get out of sick days. Get out of sick days by changing their body temperature. All right, put it on the board.
All right, that's good. Let's go to lunch. Okay, crazy. So now one of them's gonna get a spinoff, one of them's gonna get a reboot, one of them's getting canceled. This is tough.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Do you why don't you go
start.
for the first mark?
Sure. Listen, I have so Haji is problematic for a number of reasons. One of them is the least of which is maybe not the least of which is the fact that Haji, kind of like Apu in a way, like that term has been hurled as epithet. It's definitely a racially charged term now. For a lot of folks that are unfamiliar, it's kind of what a lot of the army folks in the armed services may have called people in Iraq and Afghanistan. During those wars, they were sort of like calling them all Hajis, kind of thing, almost like how Charlie was used. Now, that said, I'm gonna take a little twist on this. Like you might think I'm going cancel because of that, right?
That's what I thought.
I'm not going cancel.
What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
I actually want to reboot this character. I want to heal because I love Johnny Quest.
Okay.
And I want to I just want to redo this character. I want this character to be like, first of all, you don't get very many turbaned characters that are cool and badass. And can, I would definitely change some of these magic powers. And I would probably, make him, because if his last name is Singh, first of all, I'll change his name. Changing his name.
Yeah.
Giving him a real name, not just a sort of, not that there aren't people named Haji, but I just feel like it's few and far between. It's not a very common name, and it's more like, it actually means pilgrim, essentially. It's people who made this pilgrimage called Hajis. Right? That's where it came from. Yeah, so it's very few people are named Pilgrim, and I feel like it's used as frequently as that for the most part. I know I'm gonna get a lot of ats from actual Hajis out there that are like, that's actually my name, you jerk.
I exist.
And apologies to you, but I want to give him a name that is maybe less, I want to give him a name that sort of falls in line with, if he's a Singh, then let's make him a cool, sick character.
Yes.
Who maybe is an adoptive older brother, or maybe actually has a family. I don't know, just throwing that out there. And let's put him in this world. I think that there's a way to reboot him that would be very cool, and that would sort of make amends. So that's what I'm throwing out there for him. Yeah.
Oh.
And then they're just like, are bad.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot.
Call it out. There's
a lot we could do. I think that's a good point, Delvin.
Okay, I'll vote yes as long as in your reboot we finally acknowledge that Race and Dr. Quest for sure have feelings for each other. Because there's a lot of scenes in the classic cartoon where it's just them two, like, we just got back from vacation. How are you doing, Johnny? And I'm just like, you two? Okay.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Okay, I'm in. Spin-off. Okay, so now this leads to who,
Yeah.
or who, that was the reboot. This is who gets the spin-off and who gets canceled.
Yeah, this is interesting.
This could be tough.
I
This
don't
could
know
be
that
tough.
I don't really want to spin off either of them. I guess. Okay, well, you go.
Here's my thing. The spin-off of Mowgli would just be technically the continued stories of Mowgli going to a village and just becoming a man. Because he leaves
It becomes
the jungle.
it becomes like Encino Man, basically.
Like it's not particularly a spin-off. Because also technically Jungle Book did get a spin-off and it was called Tailspin. So
Right.
We
Mowgli's
can-
not in that though, really, right?
well he's not, but that's why it's the Baloo spin-off, I guess, right?
It could be like what's happening during Tailspin. It's like the parallel story.
It's just him getting married. Because at the ending of that movie was just like, what
getting an
do you want to
arranged
do,
marriage.
Mowgli? You could live the cool life in the jungle. And he's like, I saw a girl, so I'm going to go adhere to patriarchal standards. And you're like, oh, that's boring.
Yeah.
Your life rocks in the jungle.
It's like I'm not into. Turns out I'm into my own species.
Okay. So, sorry, guys. I've been doing some soul searching. I'm going to go ahead and say we cancel Mowgli and we give the spin-off to Apu. After all the conversations we have, we give the spin-off to Apu. I know it's a little bit of a cheat because we said earlier how we would sort of soft reboot the character with a different voice actor.
Wait, but we don't have to technically reboot the character. We could recast the character and still do a spin-off.
Oh, it's on a full. You're right. So yeah,
Right?
so new voice actor, and we have and Apu gets to hang out with all of our favorite Hankasari, characters, Chief Wiggum, etc. And it's Apu universe. I would love that. Apu's show.
I'm good with it.
Okay.
That said, if Disney was like, "Hey, can you write the Mowgli story?" I'd be like, "Yeah, I could do that." But I agree. I think for the purposes of this, I like it. We are so just to cement it in stone.
Yeah.
We're spinning off Apu, but recasting him.
Yeah.
We are
Rebooting
Haji, canceling Mowgli.
Yep. Mowgli's
All right.
canceled.
Hit us in the comments if you disagree, listeners. We love to hear it. All right, moving on to round 3, our final round. Here we go. This is the video game edition.
Yep.
So not necessarily brown face or white face or whitewash or anything like that. That's not what's happening here. But still,
This is a
potentially
fun
some problematic
round.
characters. Yeah, good fun round. Dalsim,
Yes.
the great tiger from
Yes.
Punch-Out, and Symmetra from Overwatch.
Yes.
Who I just want to say right off the bat, not a problematic character.
No.
Just an Indian character.
This one might be stacked at a certain could be. We don't know.
Also, we'll just say, just to keep our integrity, we will be upfront and say that Anjali Bhamani plays the voice of Symmetra in Overwatch as well.
Aforementioned
So,
Critical Role, darling.
obviously canceled, right?
Yeah.
So much free time for DesiQuest.
Yes.
That's right, because we need her for DesiQuest, so we're canceling Symmetra.
Sorry, Auntie Ruby. Yeah. So, so to quickly go through, Dalsim from Street Fighter. He is a yoga master, and he has the ability to stretch his body and conjure fire.
Yoga fire.
So we've got that going. Great Tiger is the signature move now called the Tiger Magic Punch. Is that right? From Super Punch-Out.
Sounds like a dirtier version of the Donkey Punch.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
That's when you use your nails.
Yep.
He has the powers to teleport, flying around in the ring in circles, hitting Mac with a barrage of quick jabs. So he's also got some magic powers.
He gets dizzy, does the Desi head shake when he gets dizzy, and then you can punch him in the face.
And his turban blanks. That's really fun. But was voiced by a Hindi-speaking actor in the 2009 version, so something to keep in mind. And of course, as we talked about, Symmetra from Overwatch, played by our very, very good friend, and it's just a badass character. Just holy shit, what a badass character. And you know I don't normally curse on this show, so it means a lot. Okay, so who's getting what? Who wants to take first blood?
All right, I'll just jump in. I think this one could be relatively quick.
Yeah.
I mean, so
Are we both feeling the spinoff here? Right?
I mean, the spinoff is obvious. I think the spinoff is
right.
Fine. We can knock that off. The spinoff is I'm going to go with Symmetra because mostly we put her into this category because we wanted to shout out. We wanted to name drop that our friend plays the character. That's pretty much it. It's a light bending architect who weaves her construction in order to and perfection in order to create a better world. We love this character. She's got photon projectors. Yeah, it's cool. Puts out these sentry turrets.
Just rad.
Cool. Rad. We're spinning off this character.
Yeah.
That's an easy one. So it comes down to which between Dalsim and the Great Tiger, which honestly, those are for me growing up, were the only Indian characters. And for both of them, I was like, Dad? I was confused. I was like, how did my dad get in the video game?
Yes.
They're so like, there's that. They were obviously... let's just say Yoga Flame and Yoga Fire was often also hurled at me in ways. I think with literal fireworks being thrown at me, being like, here's a black cat or a...
Wow, because they were legal where you're from.
Yeah.
That's
anyway
so dangerous.
Yeah. Well, we did stupid shit.
Yeah. That actually does become legally a hate crime, I do believe. If it's an explosive being thrown at you with...
Here's where I'm at.
Yeah.
And we'll see if we differ.
Okay.
I want to cancel Dalsim because it feels more stereotypical and annoying to me.
Okay.
Than just like a stretchy yoga guy. I don't know. I just don't love it. I never loved playing him. I always felt like when people selected him to play against me, I was like, ugh, you're doing this just to be a dick. Yeah. I just don't like the character really.
Right. Okay.
The Great Tiger, I could see doing like a hardcore like Creed reboot of this character. Like I imagine like a Creed style trailer, you just see like 8-pack abs punching a thing and it's like kind of lit and you're like, oh, is this Creed? Because you're like, can't tell.
Yeah.
Black guy, brown guy. Yeah. Who knows with that cool like
8-bit
indie film lighting or whatever.
Right.
And just like who is freaking pounding these punching bags and just like, and then you're like, what's that lens flare that just hit the thing? And you're like, oh, it's the fucking Turban Gem. Like, holy shit. He's this like, really, you give him a whole real backstory. Turns out that he was Haji from Johnny Quest grown up now.
Yeah.
I don't know. But you give him like, and to me, I've never seen an Indian boxing movie. Like I would watch the shit out of that.
So here's the thing. Okay, let's break this down. I've got 2 points, okay? Before I either confirm or deny what you've put on the table. One, Dalsim comes with the idea that we innately have magical abilities. Which, as someone who struggles with literally everything, is not true. Whereas the Great Tiger, with the boxing thing, I feel like it's cooked in where like boxers train, right?
Yeah.
I want to see... I would love to see a South Asian character train up, earn those muscles, right?
Right.
Like go through this. Don't just be born like a certain way. I want that story. And even if it is the Great Tiger as a villain, I do want to see like that training montage. I want to see that working out. I like that. Okay.
Nah,
that's
in the end, he beats the fuck out of Mac. He steps on his throat and wins.
Doesn't stop. Yeah, it's like a dirty fighter too. It's like really just like. I won't. Yeah, it's like they're scared.
The story opens with them at age 12, and Mac is doing a Gandhi dot on him, right in his turban, and that sends him off on his story of revenge.
Yes.
Oh, I'm into it.
Yes.
I'm into it. He just trains and trains.
The second point. Do you happen to know where the name Dalsim comes from, Sandeep?
No. Oh no! Please tell me.
So this is from a cursory Google. So if you have more information, please feel free to correct me. But from according to my research, the name comes from an Indian restaurant in Osaka near Capcom's office.
Okay.
They mixed dal and shim. And
wow.
So it was just a vegetarian dish. So it's not. So Dalsim is
basically They named him the Indian equivalent of Panda Express.
That's it.
Like, we love Panda Express. Let's just name that character Panda Express. Fuck it.
Like, imagine just for Caucasian folks.
Man.
Like, imagine if it was like your Street Fighter, and you have all these cool characters, and then it's like toast syrup, and you'd be like, that's not great.
Oh, man. Toast syrup. Yeah, totally. What's sim? I know what dal is, but what's sim? I don't think I know what that is.
I might be mispronouncing it, but it's the hyacinth beans.
Oh.
I was about to buy some hyacinth today from Trader Joe's.
I think Good Juice, we call it something else. I don't know what.
Yeah.
I need to see a picture of it or whatever. Hyacinth beans. Okay.
But yeah, being named after a menu.
Yeah, that's rough.
And also, Indian menus, the worst description of food, because it's always like bread mixed with yogurt, mixed with spices. And you're like, that sounds terrible. What I'm eating is good. What you described is atrocity.
Amazing.
So I'm going to agree with you. With you. We cancel Dulcim, named after 2 Indian dishes.
Canceling toast syrup. We're rebooting The Great Tiger as like a Indian Boxer Creed movie.
Yes.
Oh man, I want that. And then we are of course spinning off Anjali Bhimani's character Symmetra in Overwatch.
Yes.
And watching many seasons of that as her career absolutely continues to explode, and then we just ride her coattails even further.
I feel like you kind of got let off the hook easy by having Symmetra on this board. So
Okay.
I'd like you to also cover what her spinoff. Is it a show? Is it a different game? If so, what kind of game is her spinoff game?
So you're gonna out me as someone who didn't play Overwatch? Cool.
Well, I mean, I'm presuming you're not just making Overwatch again, but everybody's Symmetra, right?
Yeah.
Oops, all Symmetra.
Is it a Mario kind of game, a Link kind of game? You know.
I'm gonna go show. I want an animated show. It's so rad. And I want it to be in this style, not the animation style, but the way we play this out. I want it to be the Batman Beyond of this universe. That's the vibe I'm going for with Symmetra. That's my pitch.
Okay, I am obsessed with the game Vampire Survivors.
Okay.
So I just want a version where I get to be her and accrue all these cool weapons and do runs and kill
vampires.
Vampires with Symmetra, I guess.
That makes
that's
sense.
The best I got.
Vampires hate light.
It's the best my COVID frog brain will give you right now.
Really quick before we move on to the next segment, one time I went in for a pitch and I gave all these heartfelt pitches of these entire worlds I built out, and every single one of them got shut down. And this was probably like 10, 15 years ago. And then I was like, all right, well, my last idea just off the cuff, I don't know, it's not that great, but Lost, but a comedy. And then went, go home and write that. And I had built out Wikipedia pages for all my other pitches, and it was just that where I was like, I hate this industry. Okay, I'll be back in a bit.
It's all about
I'll be back in a bit.
The right quick pitch at the right time when the executive's in the right mood and they actually have money they can actually spend and all this. Yeah, it's crazy. This industry is absolutely nuts. It's like hitting like 15 moving targets at the same time. While having diarrhea. It's very difficult. Just dropping this in from chat because this is pretty great. Triple R2, The Rise of the Great Tiger. And then another Nervous Rex is in there saying Symmetra with triple R in there. How beautiful is that?
There it is.
You too could join us live Sundays at 7:30 for the most part. If you listen to us, we're going to move into our last segment right now.
That's right.
Desi of the Week. And that, this is your job. I'm sorry, go.
Oh, you can do it. You started. Why don't you go into it?
No. You're the host. You got this, buddy.
Host privileges are important, Omar. You've earned this.
All
you deserve
right.
this.
I'm not going to do that.
I get to introduce our Desi of the Week. It is none other than the man of the hour himself, Hari Kondabolu.
Yeah. I think this is obvious. He's, listen, we love Hari. He's an amazing stand-up. You guys should check him out. He's got a brand new special out right now, all about how he's a dad now. It's on YouTube, I believe, for free. Check it out. I got to look up the name. Where is it? Do we have it somewhere? Just look up Hari. It's on the YouTubes. So look, he went head to head. He went head to head. He went for something he believed in, and that he thought would make the world a better place if it was called out. And there was some massive fallout. You should check out that interview. It's super interesting on NPR, on Code Switch, if you want to see how they really kind of chatted it out right there live. Hari and Hank Azaria, I really thought it was an excellent interview. It's only 20 minutes, so go check that out.
Yeah.
Maybe go check out The Problem with Apu. But probably what he cares about the most, you checking out, is Vacation Baby. That's what it's called. His full comedy special, Hari Kondabolu. Well, he's a friend too, so we'll get him on the pod someday. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that.
That'd be great. And one thing I really do, I want to shout out from the interview that Hari did was that, Hank Azaria, who's a comedy legend and a comedy hero of mine, obviously, for many, many reasons, was talking about how he has the documentary did eventually change the way he thought about this, changed his view on this. It made him more informed about it. And that's incredible. And I really do appreciate all the work that Hank Azaria is now putting into this and how he was like, I'll field these questions. I'm going to jump in. I'm going to see what I can do to take care of this. But when he was talking about that, Hari did highlight an aspect of it where Hari was like, yeah, you said this stuff, but I did all the work. My team did all the work. And then, you're coming through and saying, you came through these discoveries and then we're not getting you the credit. And that happens a lot in communities of color where we'll do a ton of work and then other people outside the community will get credit for that. And even on this interview where, Hari is getting his finally earned flowers, for him to still stand that and to state that, it means a lot. It makes the difficulties he's dealt with, and he's dealt with death threats. He's dealt with so much. This has possibly affected his career for decades to come. Oh yeah, it's made our lives easier.
He was really pigeonholed. As like, oh, he's this like, cancel culture dude who just like all he does is like whine about this thing, and I think it probably did really affect the types of jobs he was offered, or the opportunities that he got, especially for he's such a rising comedian as he was. Like there's probably a reason why a lot of you listening were like, who's this guy? It's like you should have known about him because he was rising at the same time that Hassan Minaj was rising. He was rising at the same time that Kumail was rising. They were all kind of coming up and moving up together, and his stand-up is great and deserves the same level of respect as those guys. And then for some reason he got sort of like shadow banned by the community. So we are more than happy to shout him out, and I'm glad that I think you called it out great. That was awesome for you to mention everything that sort of happened in that interview. That was a cool moment. So do go check that out. Do check out his special. And that's our Desi of the week. And that is also our show.
My goodness, that's right. As always, if you want to see our lovely faces, all the VOD and all the other ways you can hang out with us are in the show notes. Please, folks, do us a huge favor and rate and comment on this podcast wherever you listen to it, wherever you watch it. That helps us so much. Comments, suggestions, feedback, all of that can be sent to abcdpodcastshow@gmail.com or check out our Discord.
And one last time, shouting out DesiQuest, our sponsors. The TTRPG actual play show that's going to star us and Symmetra and a couple other really great folks. It's all DM'd by Jasmine, that bronze girl Buller. Go to DesiQuest.com to sign up for that mailing list, and we're going to give you up-to-the-minute news about the show.
Yes.
And, of course, to you, our Patreons and listeners. Did I bring my guitar? Yes, I did. I did. It's in the back. Okay.
You gonna go get it?
Give me 10 seconds. You got the mic. You got this.
Let me stretch. I also want to say a very quick shout out to Hank Azaria. I really appreciate the attention and genuine effort he's put into it. I feel like that response is a wonderful basis for people to see how to reflect on things that you've done. He has a really good balance of acknowledging what he's done and also having optimism for changing of the future. So thank you, Hank Azaria, comedy legend and hopefully soon friend of the podcast.
So over to you, Sandeep. And now we're just loving on Hank Azaria. Okay.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, that's fine. No, I do love Hank Azaria too. So I'm glad to see that they came to a happy ending.
Yes.
And I mean that in all the ways that you think I mean it. Okay. The last people I'd like to thank are the Patreons who put money into our bank, which include Joshua Orion, Tal BM Carlo, Wuzak, Benjamin Lowe, Brandon Pace, Hunter B. Brown, Miranda Hollinger, Vaden, and Michael Long. That's it. Hey, if you're live, stick around for our after show where we critique ourselves and give ourselves ratings and comments. We actually come up with the show title together on our live show right after and play a little game of Jackbox. The show is produced by Diego Lanao. The show's technical director and sound designer is Delvin Neville. The show's executive producers are Sandeep Parikh, I like him, and Anand Shah, he's okay. Edited by Sean Meager. Music by Herschel Sisodia, Jasvir Singh, and Molik Zaveri. This has been an EffinFunny production.
On behalf of Sandeep Parikh and myself, Omar Najam, may your chakras be aligned and smothered in chutney.